So welcome to Power Session number 6. So the sixth and final session, we'll just be covering various topics. So for you that actually missed the first session, my name is Cameron, or Cam, as most people know me. I'm the lead sales support officer here at Stallman. So I look after everything pre and post sales for new customers. So various topics, what does this mean? So we'll be covering three things. So we'll be covering how to set up insurance rates within Stallman, how to set up staff and tradie pins, and also user permissions. So just explaining those, getting those up and running. I'll also have some time at the end of the session just to cover any parts of Stallman that you have special questions about. But I do ask that you hold those until the end, as I'll give you some time just to speak or actually type in your questions. Okay, to start off, so how to set up insurance rates? So in this example, we're going to be setting up an insurance rate for a customer, for customers charged $3 per $1,000 for coverage up to $10,000. I'll also have a second one for $2 for every 1,000 up until 20,000. So going to Stallman. So insurance rates can actually be found underneath your maintenance window. So if we just go maintenance and insurance rates, you'll see that I've already pre-created one. So I'm just going to double click on that one and explain how I created this. I'll create the 20,000 one after this. So your insurance rate. So we do need a starting value. As this is our first insurance rate, we are starting at $0. My end value is 10,000. So this is pertaining to how far up until your insurance rates will hit. Premiums is $3, which I'm actually repeating for every 1,000. So repeating for every 1,000, and I'm rounding to the closest dollar. So what this will actually do is for every 1,000 up until $10,000, I'm going to be charging a customer $3. So for 1,000, obviously $3, for 2,000, $6, and so on and so forth. So to actually create one of these, so just clicking out of this, so I'm going to create my 10,000 to 20,000. So add insurance rate down the bottom. So my starting value is going to be $10,000. When setting up your insurance rates, it's important that you actually have your insurance rates building off each other, so you've got no gaps. So what I mean by that is your end value for my first one is 10,000. So you want your starting value of your next one to be 10,000. After that, we just need to enter an end value. So that's my 20,000 just here. Now my premium, as I mentioned before, is my $2. So entering 2 here. I'm going to be rounding to every dollar, and I want to repeat my $2 for every 1,000. Your next checkbox just here, only accept insurance values equal to the multiple to repeat. What this means, it will only accept insurance values repeated of 1,000. So it'll only accept 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, 13,000. It won't accept things such as 11,500. If you uncheck this, Stallman will actually work out the special rates for your different ones. But generally, a site will only accept it in $1,000 lots. So I'm just going to check this one for now and hitting OK to save. So as you can see here, I've got my 0 to 10,000 and my premium is $3, which is repeating. And then I've got a 10,000 to 20,000, which is a premium of $2, which is also repeating, and selecting done. So now I'm actually going to be adding $6,000 worth of insurance to Greg Vine in unit 108. And I'm also going to be adding $11,000 worth of insurance to Nigel Baker, which is in unit 109. So just Greg Vine first, so double clicking on him, and then going to access an insurance tab. So down the bottom right here, you can see this insurance info. You'll see there that I've got my unit listed out. I've got a policy number and a coverage. You'll see that this is actually repeated down here for agreement policy number and also an extra editable color coverage. So for multiple unit agreements, you can actually have separate insurance for your separate agreements. If you had just a holistic plan, just for everyone's units within their perfect agreement, you just be filling out this field just here. So enter your policy number and then how much coverage the person is actually getting. So as I mentioned, so he's getting $6,000 and hitting OK. When you actually do this, Stallman is actually going to work out a pro rata between today's date and your next bill date. So what this will do is if I actually hit OK, yes, to this, and we go to transactions, as I mentioned, Stallman actually created a pro rata for me. So this is actually kicking up insurance as of today's date. If the person did actually pick up insurance when they first moved in and you're doing a past, when you got a past date move-in or if that makes sense. You'll just need to change your start date down the bottom here. Oh, where's my mouse? There it is. Your start date down the bottom here. And you'll see that my expiry date is actually matched my next bill date. When the person actually pays for this insurance, that expiry date will actually advance 1 month. Let me know if that makes sense, as it can be a little bit confusing. On your agreement info tab, you'll also see that Stallman's automatically added an insurance charge for me for $18. And that is insurance for him. So Nigel Baker, he wants $11,000. So double clicking, once again, access insurance. I see I've already got a policy number in there and he's just upgrading. So I'm going to go 11,000. Once again, we have a pro rata created. And also we have an insurance rate. Selecting OK. Okay, so that's our insurance rates. Next, so how to set up staff tradie pins. Quick disclaimer, the following does require you to have integrated access control system. If you don't have this module or want to know more about it, just give us a call or send an email through to sales@stallman.com and we can actually help you set that up. In the following example, we're going to be setting up a staff pin for Mr. Andy Shaw. Also going to be setting up a tradie pin for Stallman software. So once again, back to Stallman. So your access control for your staff pins are actually managed through your maintenance and all the way down to access control functions. Once you click this, you'll have some extra functions that you can actually do. And we're going to be doing staff pins. Now, staff and tradie pins within Stallman are actually done the same way. So on our following window, we just want to go add new, which will actually add in a light item for us. So enter Andy's name, which I spelled incorrectly. I still spelled it incorrectly. Enter a pin for him. So this is a pin that he's actually wanted. And you can also change your time zone. So generally, time zones are set up when we actually set up your module. And your different time zones can be 24-hour access, business hour access, that sort of thing as well. So that's Mr. Andy set up. We now need to set up one up for Stallman software. Hitting add once again. So Stallman, my pin. And I'm only going to have during business hour access for them. So time zone 1. Hitting OK. Once you've created these, we then actually just need to download those pins into your gate system as they don't actually automatically trigger. So if we go back through maintenance, access control functions, these staff pins, usually you would do this when you first set them up, but I just wanted to show you this is where the button is, and download all staff pins. Clicking OK. And then now what you'll see is down in your access log, you'll actually have 2 records created for them. And that is my staff pins. And lastly, user permissions. User permissions inside of Stallman are actually a very powerful thing. Within your implementation of Stallman, we would have actually set up your permissions for you. So that's of Stallman of old and Stallman of new. In this example, I'll cover the 3 most used user groups. Also how to actually create a new user and assign them into a group. So users are managed through your maintenance window once again, and down to manage modify users and groups, sorry. Here we are. So over to your left, it'll actually list out any extra users you've got or any users you actually currently have. So Mr. Andy, we've got Justin and Sarah. Over to your right, you've actually got user groups, which is admin, admin owner, managers, and users. The difference between these two, your users are the specific user logins that people are going to be using. So username and password. Your groups are actually a group of permissions that you assign onto your users. If we actually double click onto Andy, we can see here we've got a full name, we've got the username, and we can also reset the password by hitting edit and getting them to type in a new password. And then below here, you've actually got a list of all your permissions. If you wish, you can go through and select your separate permissions for this person just by simply clicking. You can even select them all by going select all. However, I don't like doing that personally. I like actually assigning them into a group. So I'm going to assign Mr. Andy into admin owner. So your admin owner group is usually for users who have access to absolutely everything within the system. So this includes editing and removing transactions, deleting customers, and even agreements. They can run certain reports. They have access to custom report builders and that sort of thing as well. So to assign him into a group, double click onto the admin owner and just select Andy over to the right. And that's done. Next, we've got Justin, and I'm going to assign him into the managers. So your managers is usually for users. Oops, sorry, I just clicked into my wrong screen. So your manager group is usually for users who are actually given permissions to only really run reports and set up new users. So this user is unable to edit or delete transactions. So these types of actions usually require a site owner's permission. So just assigning Justin in, double clicking, selecting Justin, and OK. And finally, I'm going to assign Sarah into a users. So users is generally for just your staff members so they can add in records such as transactions, moving people in, taking sales inquiries, reservations, that sort of thing. But they don't have permissions to actually run reports. So just to assign in, obviously select Sarah and done. To edit any one of these, as I already mentioned, so if you do want to actually edit the permissions that the admin owner has, double click onto this and you can go through and deselect if need be. And you can also edit the name of the user group, or you can actually just select out, change the way that the call centers work, everything like that. You can even assign different dashboard items. For the cross, you would have seen you've got dashboard items for daily processing, banking, sales inquiries, reservations, movements, that sort of thing. You can actually edit those on a user group just by assign dashboard items. You can actually add in, I can move these around if I really need to. And you can also click in here and actually add reports and certain things like that, which is a really cool thing with Installment. If you find yourself actually running certain reports more often than others, we can just throw in a key stats report, which I'm sure most of you will be aware of, and hitting OK. And I'll actually assign it to the admin. Okay, so I did go through most of those very quickly, but I do have time for a questions. Any questions at this time?
Morning, Sam. Can you hear me?
Yes, I certainly can.
Yes, Sam. I have a question for you regarding insurance rate, if I could.
Yes.
Yep. If we add a carrot for an additional 5,000 for the first month for nothing, how do you set that up?
So how you would do that is when you're actually going through Access and Insurance, and you actually enter in, say, $5,000 for just 1 month.
Yep.
From then on, after the first month, would the person be paying for insurance, or did you want that removed completely off their agreement?
No. So hypothetically, let's say $10 for 5,000 worth of insurance, and then we give them an additional 5,000 as a carrot to come in for the first month only.
So what you'd be doing is down here for your coverage, I'd actually have that set up to be so the holistic amount, so your $10,000. Mm-hmm. After that, you would actually credit out, obviously for 6 months. And then when your daily processing runs, it'll actually pick up that the person's insurance is due to expire. It'll actually pop up, and all you need to do is just come back in here and modify this here, just back down to the 5,000. So your daily processing is the more powerful thing there, as it will actually warn you that their insurance is due to expire.
Yes, it does. Yep.
That was a fantastic question, actually. Any other questions from the group?
If there's none other, Sam, I do have a second question.
You do have a second question? All right. Yeah, fire away.
Yeah, sure. Sam, with the access pins.
Yes.
Okay, can you explain just a tad more on the time zone? Thanks.
Yeah, sure. So your time zones with Installment. So within your gate access, they actually call them time zones. So that's actually a gate access thing. I wish we could call them something else. But basically what they are is it's a, how do I explain this? So just say you have one time zone. So one time zone would be 24-hour access. But your second time zone, so there'll be time zone 0, and then your second time zone, so time zone 1, will be only business hour access. Now, what actually happens is when we actually go through, so I'm sure some of you actually would have seen this on Access and Insurance, we have a time zone just here.
That's right, yeah.
So what some sites do is they actually charge a premium for 24-hour access. And so all they really need to do is just go 0 for 24-hour access, and they add a reoccurring charge down the bottom here to actually say 24-hour access for an extra $2 a month per se. Yep. So obviously for your staff priority pins as well, it's actually really good because that way you've got staff that actually have 24-hour access to your facility, but then your workers or tradies that are actually coming in and out of your facility only have access during business hours. So when they actually come over 24 hours to try to code themselves in, it won't let them in unless it's actually between your 5 and 6 hours.
So is it 0 a default 24 hours and 1 is business hours, or hypothetically 9 to 5 that's allocated in the setup?
Yeah, so with your time zones are actually set up within your gate system themselves. So I know within Sentinel, they actually have a separate setup. During setup, they actually ask you whether or not you want to have your separate time zones and 24-hour access and blah, blah, blah. And then when you actually go through the setup of the gate system, or most gate systems, all you need to do is to set them up within there, and then Storm will actually send across their time zone with them, and then it will just assign them into their different categories within their gate system.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, no troubles.
Thanks very much, Sam. Yep.
Yeah.